Type O negative. I don't want to be me. Guitar tabs, guitar lesson. Okay, so with the tuning right at the start here, these guys very well use a lot of like B tuning, all that good stuff, but for this song, the lowest note that gets hit in it is a low D flat. So for our purposes here, just to keep it simple and accessible for as many people to just jump right in, I'm going to try to keep the tuning as simple as we can. And with this, I'm going to do a simplified drop D flat tuning, which basically all we're going to do is just take the low E and drop that down to that D flat so we can get it. And all the other strings will just keep the same. All right, so just a simplified drop D flat here. So what we'll have is the low D flat, and then we just do A, D, G, B, E. All right, and I'll also, put the chord names along with this. So if you're not into this tuning, you can just look at the chord names and just grab them in the tuning that you prefer. So with this, we'll just start with the intro, and initially we kind of come into it on a chord that we usually see at the end. So with this, we'll do this A flat power chord, and with this tuning, this is the shape we're looking for, almost like a G chord shape. So for the power chord, we want this, where we're going to do 7 on the low D flat and then the 6 on the A. All right, get our power chord there. And if you want, you could even throw in like the 6 on the D if you want the extra octave in there. Up to you. All right, so like I said, we're coming in on this chord, which is typically at the end of the progression, and we're doing some palm muting on it, and it's just a down strumming 8th note style on this. All right, and if you're not down with like the down strumming, you can just do like an alternate, just back and forth. Up to you. So we're coming in on that chord, but then we kind of start the traditional progression here, and this is mimicking what we do in the chorus, but the ending will be a little different. So we start with an E power chord. So here we have the 3 on the low D flat, 2 on the A, and then it's just strumming on an 8th note style. Okay, about 8 strums there. Now we want our low D flat, and for this, we'll just do octaves with it here, where we have the open low D flat and then the 4 on the A for the D flat octave. Same strumming on that. Then we take it back up to the A flat at the 7 and 6. All right, and with this intro and the chorus, we do this little bit where after that A flat, we'll go right back to the D flat. All right, and in the intro, what makes this stand by itself is that the second time around, we do the E at the 3 and 2 there, back off to the D flat, but then we do this ending on it, and this also happens at the very end of the song, where we just come up to the 7 and 6 for the A flat, we just give it 2 hits, and then we just rest. All right, then it gets into the main chorus. All right, so for the chorus pattern, this first time into it where everybody comes in after the intro, there's no vocal. This is just kind of like that chorus with the lead on top of it. And with this, it gets a little bit muddy where we got 2 guitars going on. There's kind of the 2 spread out, which will be doing this first guitar bit. And then there's this one that's real faint in the background. And this definitely stands out more live if you listen for it, where it switches up the final chord. But this first guitar, the ones that are left and right here, we start with our same E at the 3 and 2 here. And with this, not so much palm muting, you just let it rip. Off to the D flat at the open with the 4 on the A. And then we get to our A flat at the 7 and 6 there. And this first guitar, this is kind of what is different. It stays here. Or it just rides it out, and it repeats that. Now for this second guitar, the kind of fainter one that's kind of more down the middle if you're listening on headphones, and that comes across a little more live, it does the same first 2 chords into that third chord, the E to D flat to A flat. But then it does this bit at the end where instead of just staying there, it goes down to the G flat at the 5 and 4 here and finishes that way. Okay, so it's just this weird subtle difference that's going on between the guitars at the very end there during the chorus. All right, for the chorus lead, just kind of staying on the G and D string here. You can slide into it if you want, it sounds cool. Up to the 8 on the G, then 9 D. Go between those a few times. And then the end of the first time, we come off to 8D, hold that a moment, and then back to the 9. All right, and the second time through, we do our 8G, 9D a couple times. And then we just kind of get a little more abrupt there, where we go right to the 8, hold that a moment, go down to the 4D. All right, and basically we would just go between those two patterns, and then after we go through it a couple times, at the very end, once we get to that 4, we just kind of hang there, and you can let it like bend slowly as it carries over into the verse. And for the verse pattern, it's basically what we were doing in the intro, but instead of, just cutting it abrupt and having that rest there, we just keep it cycling with the 3 and 2 for the E, open for the D flat, 7 and 6 for that A flat, and then back to the D flat at the opens.